everybody, John back here again with another video, and today I bring you the first episode in my Wave 2 of Who to Win Battles. Yes, of course, I'm finally here with the Who to Win Battles Wave 2, as I call it. And I know it's been a pretty decent long time. I mean, I've been talking about this for months, and I haven't really, actually sat down, researched the characters, and then actually started recording actual episodes. But now I'm finally here, and it's time to get this party on a roll. Wave 1 was, I want to say, a moderate success. I had a lot of great requests, a lot of great feedback from, people who watched my Wave 1 of videos. And of course, if you've not seen my Wave 1 of Who to Win Battles, please go to my channel, check out this playlist that I have all the Who to Win Battles in one. And then you can check it out, and then come back here and we can start speculating for Wave 2. But that being said, as I hinted before in prior videos, the first episode would be a fight to the death, a speculated fight, a debatable fight between Iceman and Sub-Zero. Yes, Iceman of the Marvel Universe, and of course Sub-Zero from the Mortal Kombat Universe. Now this is, I think, a great first battle in my Wave 2 for specific reasons. Number one, I'm not a humongous fan of either one character. I mean, I love comic books and I love video games, but I'm not really a hardcore Iceman guy, nor am I a hardcore Sub-Zero guy. I mean, I'm not even that big of a Mortal Kombat guy, to be honest. But that being said, I think that brings up a great, new fresh take, because I have a very unbiased opinion on either one character. I mean, yes, I like comic books, yes, I like video games, but I'm not big on Iceman, and I'm not really big on Sub-Zero, so I think that's the best choice to go with in a first episode for my Wave 2. But that being said, before I get started, real quick, if you want to be more involved, because as I stated in my prior vlog, my schedule update vlog, that I definitely wanted people to get more interactive and become part of the show. Of course, comment below on these videos, and of course you can go to my Twitter at John12, twitter.com, and forward tweets to me using the hashtag WhoToWin, and of course let me know requests for future episodes, and of course your personal speculation on which character would win in your requests. But that being said, let's get started. If you've not seen any prior Who to Win battles, essentially I take two fictional characters, put them in a fight to the death, give you my personal rundown of their powers and abilities, give you a speculated fight as to how these characters fight against each other, and then at the end of the day give you the answer of the day as to which character I think would win, and then ask the obvious question: who do you think would win in battle between the two characters? That being said, let's start off with Sub-Zero's powers and abilities. Now, of course, when I was requested to do this fight, I didn't really realize that there's multiple versions of Sub-Zero, and in the request, it's not really stated as to which version of Sub-Zero, or what version and what alternate timeline or freaking video game or what have you, because there's tons of Mortal Kombat games and there's tons of different Sub-Zeros. So that being said, I'm only going to be using the original Sub-Zero. I won't be using the second Sub-Zero or any other kind of Sub-Zeros. That's kind of the general gist of what this fight's going to be all about. But that being said, let's get into Sub-Zero's powers and abilities. First off, he has the power Freeze, which is essentially Sub-Zero sending out a ball of ice that freezes his opponents in place. Now, of course, that's his main power and ability. He also has the Lin Kuei Slide, which is him sliding across the floor and, of course, knocking out his opponent with his feet. He has Ground Freeze, which is essentially Sub-Zero freezing the floor, and when you step on it, you essentially slip over, and he has ample amount of time to essentially attack you. He has Freeze in the Air, which is him jumping and freezing his opponent in the air. Diagonal Freeze, which is him freezing his opponent once he's in the air. Ice Clone, which is him creating a ice statue of himself anywhere he chooses. And of course, once you touch it, you will essentially freeze automatically. He also has Freeze on Contact, which is him arranging a little jog, and whoever touches him freezes. Super Lin Kuei Slide, which is an improved version of the Lin Kuei Slide, which is essentially him doing the exact same thing except in a greater distance. And of course he has Deep Freeze, which is him easily deep freezing his opponents to the point of them actually becoming brittle enough to shatter into pieces. And of course, Polar Blast, which is ability to freeze the entire air itself by concentrating all of his ice power into a destructive blast of biblical proportions. And that's essentially a rundown of Sub-Zero's signature moves from the Mortal Kombat video game series. That being said, let's move on into Iceman's powers and abilities. And of course, this is Robert Drake, who is a Omega level mutant, and he has the ability of thermokinesis, which is a mutant's superhuman ability to lowers external and internal body temperatures, projecting intense coldness from his body. He also has thermal vision, the ability to begin to see people through heat signatures. He also has cryokinesis, which is an ability to control moisture, such as to freeze any air moisture at a super hard ice. He also has organic ice form, the ability to not only cover his whole body in ice, but become an actual organic ice. And also, he is completely translucent, and once he is in this form, he is virtually indestructible. He also has hydrokinesis, which is him surrounding moisture to augment himself. He has molecular moisture inversion, which is the ability to freeze water molecules. He also has molecular moisture conversion, which is the ability to transform organic matter into organic ice and back again. He has ice clone generation, the ability to generate ice clones of himself. Very familiar, huh? And that's essentially his powers and abilities, and his only weakness is essentially his inability to perform under normal conditions. And that's essentially his major weakness. He doesn't really have any kind of other major weakness. And on top of that, the greatest flaw within Iceman's abilities, which is essentially he does not really believe in himself as much. And of course, he's never reached his full potential, which means that he has this hidden potential within himself to really become an extraordinarily powerful ability mutant. But that being said, that's essentially a rundown of both characters' abilities and powers. But that being said, let's get into the fight itself. Now, as I stated before, I'm not really biased when it comes to these characters, and even though I kind of sounded biased, I don't really see a real flaw with either one characters, other than the fact that the interesting thing about Iceman's powers and abilities is that they're more in-depth than, say, Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero has lots of good signature moves, and of course, if anybody knows anything about Mortal Kombat, they're fighting games. And he's obviously a very amazing fighter, and Iceman's not really that great of a fighter. He has a decent amount of hand-to-hand combat, obviously from his years of working with the X-Men and what have you. And essentially, he has, the basic power of a normal human man. But of course, once he engages in his actual powers and abilities, that increases drastically, obviously. But I think when it comes to a hand-to-hand combat fight, I have to give it to the Sub-Zero. But when it comes to straight-up power, Iceman just dominates Sub-Zero. I mean, like, they have similar abilities, like creating ice statues of themselves and using ice powers and conforming air into ice and what have you. They have a lot of similar attacks and abilities, but at the end of the day, Iceman's power towers over, Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero doesn't have as much depth in his characterization in comparison to Iceman. I guess that has a lot to do with the fact that we have more time to understand Bobby's powers in comparison to Sub-Zero's, or at least the original Sub-Zero as I'm using him in this fight. But that being said, if I have to put it up to a powers and abilities match, I have to give it to Iceman. He just totally dominates. But that being said, at the end of the day, if you had to say which character would win over the other, after researching each character's powers and abilities and seeing what they can possibly do at their full potential, or at least what they've seen as their full potential, God, I have to give it up to Iceman. Iceman just dominates this fight. I mean, the winner really goes to Iceman. Iceman, his powers towers over Sub-Zero. Now, granted, when it comes to a hand-to-hand fight, there's no denial. Sub-Zero would win. When it comes down to his ability to fight, Sub-Zero is a dominant force. He will definitely try to take down Iceman, but Iceman is indestructible in his ice form, and he has so much more power in comparison to Sub-Zero's ice powers that it just does not compare. It's just overshadowing what's already there. Now, granted, they have similar powers that can completely, diminish the other one's powers. Obviously, they either can do the same thing over and over again, or they'll just, cancel each other out with their attacks and abilities and defenses. But at the end of the day, Iceman wins. Iceman is a superior fighter, and he just completely well, not superior fighter, that's the wrong word to use. Sub-Zero may be this, in reference, in context, Sub-Zero may be the superior fighter, but Iceman has the power and ability and strength to beat Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero, the only way I can see him winning is unless he has more power, or he uses other versions of himself, like Noob Saibot, or obviously the second Sub-Zero. Maybe he would do a better job. But if I'm discussing the original Sub-Zero versus this current Bobby Drake Iceman, Iceman will dominate the living shit out of freaking Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero cannot beat him. It's impossible. Now, another Sub-Zero, that's another consideration. But seeing as how I researched this one, that's pretty much kaput with Sub-Zero. That being said, Iceman wins. But at the end of the day, who do you think would win? Let me know in the comments below. Who do you think would win in a fight between Iceman of the Marvel Universe and Sub-Zero? If you want to use a different Sub-Zero than the one I use, feel free in the comments below. But that being said, this comes to a close to my first episode of my Wave 2. I hope you guys enjoyed. And of course, let me know your personal speculation in the comments of these videos. And of course, my Twitter at JohnTrucker12, hashtag who would win. And of course, my next battle, as a clear foreshadowing of future episodes as I did last time, essentially my next fight in my Who Would Win Battles Wave 2 will be a fight to the death between Itachi from Naruto and, of course, Ultron from the Marvel Universe. I was requested to do this fight, and that's going to be my episode 2 in my Wave 2. Now, that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. I personally don't consider, me more of an Iceman fan in comparison to Sub-Zero, but I'm just saying, after researching these characters and looking at their powers and abilities and what they've accomplished, power-wise, Iceman dominates. Fighting-wise, Sub-Zero dominates. Which one will cancel each other out? They have tons of powers that can do either one of the same thing. But at the end of the day, I give it to Iceman. Let me know what you personally think. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already. And this has been JohnTrucker12.